Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Cuz You Don't Know Football. Let me just check the stuff out real quick. You gotta make sure your stuff is right. Okay, get the camera. There it is. You gotta make sure your stuff is right when you get on here. Guys, we in week 3. We are getting through the season. It's been another great week of football, man. I missed you guys, you know what I mean? But I'm happy that we are here now. We're gonna get through this one. This one is just us, guys. It's just me and y'all. We ain't got nobody here, which means we don't have any interruptions from them loudmouth people that be on here. Why they talk so much? You know what I mean? Nah, I talk a lot too, so it is what it is. Either way, we're gonna get through these games how I see them. We'll probably get through more games because of that. But you know what I mean? I'm not gonna go too deep into it. So first, the Thursday night game, the Bills beat the Dolphins 31-21. The Bills are 3-0 and the Dolphins are 0-3. Oof. So, Tua, of course, y'all know I always do the losing teams first. Tua, he was 22 of 34 for 146 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Devon Achane led them with 12 carries for 62 yards. And Ollie Gordon, actually, he had a rushing touchdown. And Tyreek Hill had 5 receptions for 49 yards and a touchdown, and Jalen Waddle had 5 receptions for 39 yards and a touchdown. Um, Josh Allen, he was 22 of 28 for 213 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks. James Cook had 19 carries for 108 yards and a touchdown. And Dalton Kincaid led them with 5 receptions for 66 yards and a touchdown, and Khalil Shakir also had a touchdown. And so did Jackson Halls. He had a touchdown as well. Okay. Are we done with this whole Tua thing now? I'm asking. I'm asking because I remember everybody was telling me so much about how great Tua was, that he was like a top 5 most accurate quarterback in the NFL, and all of these things. Are we done with this? And are we done with Are we done with what's their head coach? McDaniels. I almost called him Josh. It's not Josh. But are we done with their head coach too? Because this whole thing. See, going back, my problem with the Dolphins is not what's going on right now. Going back 2 years and last year, everybody kept telling me how great this was. And when you construct a roster, they were poorly constructed. Listen to me, y'all. You never construct a roster with great wide receivers, great cornerbacks, and your offensive line and defensive line is nothing. That's not what you ever do. Never, ever, ever, ever do that. But they did that, and they told me Tua was the answer to all of that. And now I'm like, are we over with that now? Or y'all gonna still argue with me about constructing a roster and why the Dolphins are really this bad? The one thing about the Bills, like Josh Allen. You remember the days when Josh Allen was actually turning the ball over? Like where he was having a great game, having a bad game, then having a great game, then having a bad game. He's not having these bad games. Like, this is scary. Now, also don't love how their roster is constructed completely. I think they need not one, but 2 pass rushers for Josh Allen. However, for right now, you know what I mean? They cool right now. So I'm not going to go too deep into that. But the Bills, if you're listening, go get Josh Allen some pass rushers. Go get Josh Allen some pass rushers. What are y'all doing? Y'all irk my life. So I'm not going to go into this game, but I do want to actually just say, Tazar, I'm hyping you up right now. So we had a conversation about Joe Burrow and his greatness, and I want to say, Tazar, he made a great point. Actually, I'm going to record this while I'm recording the podcast, and I'm gonna send it to him while I'm doing it. This. So now he's going to see this. Oop, nope, 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 nope. Okay. So me and Cesar were talking about Joe Burrow's greatness, and things like that. So of course Joe Burrow's out for the year, and I want to say he was I feel as though he was right about something. Not to the extreme that I feel as though he was actually right, but what I really honestly feel is if the best things we're going to say about Joe Burrow happened in the past, then he's got to come out of the elite conversation of quarterbacks. He's not. He's no longer in that. If we've seen the best of him now, he's not there. They lost 48-10. We'll see what the rest of the season looks like, but I need to see more from Joe Burrow too. And no matter what I feel about what he has done, he needs to do more. So there, Tazar, I said it. Don't you say I didn't say it. Don't say it. I said it on the podcast. I give you your respect on that, sir. He gonna respond to me pretty soon. Okay. So with that said, we're gonna move on. Uh, the Jags actually beat the Texans, man. What are we thinking about the Texans? The Jags won 17-10. The Texans are 0-3 this year. Yikes. Yikes. CJ Stroud was 25 of 38 for 204 yards, one touchdown, two picks. Nothing of rushing worth talking about. Nico Collins had 8 receptions for 104 yards and a touchdown. Did exactly what he was supposed to do. Trevor Lawrence had he was 20 of 40 for 222 yards, zero touchdowns, and a pick. Travis Etienne had a rushing touchdown, and so did I can't even say it, Mr. Tootin. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his name. But Brenton Strange actually led them receiving with 6 receptions for 61 yards. There were no receiving touchdowns. They making the AFC South look bad. You see what I'm saying? Real bad. Um, the story of this is really the Texans and the fact that they're 0-3. I thought that they would fall off a little bit. I didn't expect this. I didn't expect this. I'm gonna be honest with you. Um, at 0-3, playoffs look like pretty much over already. And I'm not going to count them completely out, but dropping the first 3 games, you know what I mean. I would love to. I'm gonna look up the percentage of teams that started season 0-3 and made the playoffs, but I'm certain it's not that many. You know, so I'm gonna look up that stat later on. But however, yeah, I mean, even Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence wasn't really impressive in this game. I just want to be honest. Trevor Lawrence wasn't really impressive during this game. It's just, it worked out for them right now. So it's working out for them right now. So we'll see that. Looks like we got a little bit of a lag. That's interesting. Okay, it caught up. Okay, I'm not gonna say too much on that. Now the Colts beat the Titans. I'm not really going to talk about the Titans too much. Although I will shout out my boy Cam Ward, 23 of 38, 219 yards, one touchdown, one pick. In this tough year, which is going to be a tough year for them all year, I feel as though he has been good thus far. He's been a spark for them, and I'm just really interested to continue to see his success. Now, Daniel Jones, he was 18 to 25, 228 yards, one touchdown, no picks. Jonathan Taylor, 17 carries for 102 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Michael Pittman Jr. has 6 receptions for 73 yards and a touchdown. Now, I'm happy Daniel Jones is playing well. He has been a pleasant surprise for my Indianapolis Colts. I'm gonna be honest with you. He's been incredible. I don't want to get too hype on him, and I think the Colts have done the right thing with Daniel Jones. They still made sure to show Jonathan Taylor is the best player on the Indianapolis Colts. They hadn't done that in a couple years, and we ended up 9-8, not in the playoffs. They are right now acting as if Jonathan Taylor is the best player on the Indianapolis Colts, which he is. And as long as they continue to do that, I'm confident that 3-0, you know, we're gonna be in the playoffs. You know what I mean? But continue to give the ball to Jonathan Taylor. Do not get Daniel Jones reliant. But I love how he's playing in the system. With our best player being Jonathan Taylor. I I applaud what's going on there. Okay. Okay. It really was some really good games this week. I'm gonna be honest with you. Um, Eagles Rams, boy, that was a game. Now that was a game. The Eagles definitely took care of the Rams, 33-26. We're gonna get into this game. Matthew Stafford was 19 and 33 for 196 yards, two touchdowns, and a pick. Kyron Williams had 20 carries for 94 yards. There were no rushing touchdowns. Puka Nakua had 11 receptions for 112 yards, no touchdowns. Devontae Adams had a receiving touchdown, and Kyron Williams had a receiving touchdown. Jalen Hurts was 21 of 32 for 226 yards, three touchdowns, no picks. Saquon had 18 carries for 46 yards, no touchdowns, but Jalen Hurts had another rushing touchdown with the tush push, of course. And AJ Brown had six receptions for 109 yards and a touchdown. And Devontae Smith, he had eight receptions for 60 yards and a touchdown. And Dallas Goddard had a receiving touchdown as well. First of all, let me tell y'all about this game. The Rams was whipping the Eagles' ass. We could just call a spade here. The Rams was whipping the Eagles' ass. What, at one point, what was it, like 25-9? Or no, it was like 25-3. I forget what the score was, but the Rams was whipping ass. Um, and that was for about a half. And then in the second half, the Eagles really figured out what their game plan was going to be. And I'm happy that they went to AJ Brown, and that's what they chose to use to come back with, because AJ Brown had been falling out of favor in this offense, and he had voiced his frustration. So it's great to see him get his touches. The Eagles came back and they won. Um, it's also like when you have a lot of weapons on one roster, that's the problem. When you have a lot of weapons on a roster, somebody's game is gonna have to suffer, and it's hard to look at what's fair because it's never gonna be fair. So a lot of times we have conversations about Jalen Hurts being top five or top 10. Do I think he's top five? I think he's definitely fringe top five. Absolutely. Having this many weapons and putting it together, making the ship go, being the one that will step back and say, I could do this, but I'm not going to, or I'm going to make sure that we exploit this here, or things like that. Those kind of decisions, that's a quarterback decision, and to be able to do it with a lot of talent, with more talent than you need, is a hard skill to master. And I think he's done a very good job of doing that. Um, for the Rams, yeah, y'all got to get back in the draw. Y'all got to get back in there. Get back to the drawing board. Figure out why y'all keep losing to the Eagles, because the Eagles definitely have your number at this point. At this point, we can kind of see the Eagles have the Rams' number. However, they need to play to beat the Rams. They've played that way and beat the Rams. Still very impressed with the Rams, though. Where are we going now? Some of these games I'm not even going to go too far into because they really weren't that good. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I really didn't care about some of these games, but a lot of them I did. Let's see. Panthers blew out the Falcons. I feel like the Falcons suck. Packers, how y'all lose to the Browns? I'm not even getting into that. You lost to the Cleveland Browns, though. You should be ashamed of yourself. And I'll leave that there. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the Cowboys versus the Bears. So the Bears won their first game of the year, winning 31-14 against the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott was 31 of 40 for 251 yards, one touchdown, two picks. Uh Javante Williams, he had 10 carries for 76 yards. There was no rushing touchdowns. Jake Ferguson had 13 receptions for 82 yards and no touchdowns. George Pickens had their only receiving touchdown. Now the Bears, Caleb Williams was 19-28, 298 yards, four touchdowns, no picks. And there's no receiving. I mean, no rushing yards to really to talk about. And then Luther Burton had 3 receptions for 101 yards and also a touchdown. And Roma Dunze had the other touchdown. Now, let me ask y'all a question. Now, first of all, the Bears have looked bad all year long. This has looked like Caleb Williams was a bust. Uh, we've started to question if Ben Johnson was over his head as a head coach. Um, it was just glaring weaknesses in it. What does it say about you when a team is only good against you? Like the best thing that they did, like they would be irrelevant had they not played you. But they played you and they keep looking good. Like teams keep playing the Cowboys and they look better against the Cowboys and they play somebody else and it's like they look bad. What does it say about the Dallas Cowboys that these teams look good only when they play the Cowboys? I mean, it's Dak. I mean, it's one thing that I think Dak Prescott is overpaid. Okay, that's one thing. It's another thing that I think CD Lamb is a little overrated. This defense was supposed to be something that they could hang their hat on. This defense looks awful. This isn't for defense. It looks like it looks like when you play in Madden and you put the settings on rookie and everybody's just throwing bombs. Like, how is everybody keep just getting deeper than these cornerbacks? What is going on in Dallas? I don't know what's going on in Dallas, but they need to blow this thing up fast. They need to trade Dak and CD and see what they can get with it and start rebuilding for the future. This is bad. They're gonna be in last place in this division. And they already beat the Giants one time. And I'm telling you, they're still gonna be in last place in this division. This is bad. This is worse. I didn't think it was gonna be good, and this is far worse than I even thought it was gonna be. This is bad. Caleb Williams. And I'm gonna tell y'all real quick. Next week, if you're betting, bet the Bears are gonna lose. They're not this good. They're not this good. They're just looked as good against the Cowboys. So that's that. Okay. Speaking of teams that allow teams to look good only against them. It's really hard to overlook the Chargers right now, or it's hard for me to really take the Chargers seriously. So the Chargers beat the Broncos 23-20, and they remained undefeated in the season, and the Broncos dropped to 1-2. Bo Nix was 14-25 for 153 yards, one touchdown, no picks. And J.K. Dobbins had 11 carries for 83 yards and a touchdown. Cortland Sutton had 6 receptions for 118 yards and a touchdown. All right, now let's go over to the Chargers and their winning. 28 of Justin Herbert was 28 of 47 for 300 yards and one touchdown. Omarion Hampton had 19 carries for 70 yards and one touchdown. Ooh, sorry, y'all. I got an itch. Oh man, that is great. Um, Quentin Johnson led them in receiving for 6 receptions for 89 yards, but Keenan Allen actually had the receiving touchdown. So remember what I said. What does it say about you when everybody's good only when they play you? At this point, the only reason that we even talk about Trevor Lawrence is because he's got one playoff victory, and it's against the Chargers. CJ Stroud would have only had one really good season, except he played the Chargers in the playoffs in round one, and he beat them with an inferior roster. The problem with the Chargers is Justin Herbert, who I have been on record saying is the most overrated player in the NFL. They keep showing you that they're great. And then they play somebody and that you think that is far inferior than them and they lose to them. So right now, this year they have closed out games against the Broncos. They closed out a game against the Chiefs. They look remarkable. Justin Herbert is the MVP leader in the NFL right now. I bet not hear nothing of excuses about them losing in the first round to anybody or when they play somebody in the playoffs. This is a great roster. The quarterback needs to be great, but they also got a great head coach. How it looks right now, they're going to run away with the AFC West, and I'm still going to stick with the Broncos to win the division. I'm still going to stick there because I don't like that notoriously the Chargers are showing you that they're this great and then they lose to somebody in the past that you're like how like they're better than them. So I'm not believing anything about the Chargers right now yet. I'm not believing it yet. I'm gonna wait and see. Give me some time to continue to look at it. I'm gonna give you a updated playoff prediction in about like 2 weeks, and it's gonna be the final one of the year. And then we're gonna go from there. But till further notice, I'm still not a believer in the Chargers, but I gotta give Justin Herbert his props. He's the MVP candidate right now. He's running away with it, and they're closing out games, which is what they're supposed to do. So we'll continue to see. We'll continue to see. Okay. All right, guys. We're getting there. We're getting there. Relax. Relax. We're getting there. All right. Cardinals, how y'all lose to the 49ers? I believe in y'all. I'm still believing in y'all, but y'all gotta pick this up. I'm not really gonna go too much in terms of the Chiefs Giants game, but I will say, well, the Chiefs won 22-9, but it was a close game up until they pulled it out in the end. But I'm tired of y'all trying to convince me that the Chiefs roster is a good roster. The Chiefs roster is not a good roster. Now they won the game. And they won two of them. They're going to be in the playoffs. Can you get Patrick Mahomes some help? Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones have carried this roster in ways that it has been unfair to pretty much anybody. Anybody else. Get them some help, please. All right, but the game that everybody's talking about now, the Detroit Lions went into Baltimore and won 38-30. Now the Ravens are 1-2. Let's go to Ravens. Lamar Jackson was 21-27 for 288 yards, three touchdowns, no picks. Derrick Henry had 12 carries for 50 yards and a touchdown, but he also had the fumble that lost the game. That's crazy. Mark Andrews had six receptions for 91 yards and two touchdowns. Rashad Bateman had five receptions for 63 yards and a touchdown. Okay, now going over to the Lions. Jared Goff was 20 of 28 for 202 yards, one touchdown, no picks. David Montgomery had 12 carries for 151 yards and two touchdowns. Jameer Gibbs had 22 carries for 67 yards and two touchdowns. Amon St. Brown, he had seven receptions for 77 yards and a touchdown. So the one thing about this game is the Detroit Lions bullied the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. Now that's not something that generally happens to the Ravens. The Lions bullied them up front in the trenches and stuff like that. Um, and I also want to add into the fact that with the Ravens getting all of these new cornerbacks to stop people, it didn't even matter this game. That's supposed to be the Ravens' new strength, and it really didn't matter. Um, with that said, um, Detroit, man, like I left y'all in the playoffs. I had questions about y'all. Y'all answered a lot of questions for me. I'm gonna be honest with you. How tough you are, your resilience against this team on the road. You answered a lot of questions for me. And I feel better about you today than I did last week or at the beginning of the season. Now, when it comes to the Ravens, I had questions about having that many corners and not having pass rushers or natural four linemen pass rushers. You know what I mean? I had questions about that, and I also had questions about if Lamar Jackson had enough weapons. Lamar Jackson's remarkable. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen. He needs help, and you need pass rushers. Now, you did just sign Cameron Jordan. I'm not sure if that's going to help you much this year. He seems a little outdated. We'll see. I could be wrong about that. I was wrong about Derrick Henry, so I could be very wrong about that. Um, but I had a question about if these cornerbacks could hold up for 17 weeks in the playoffs. And to be real with you, after watching this game, I pretty much have my answer. No, they can't. They can't. And that was my fear about how they constructed this team. Listen, if you're going to talk about Super Bowl winning teams, you need pass rushers. I'm going to be right about that tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. Stop telling me you can get corners and blitz. Even if you're a blitzing team, you need the ability to go get the quarterback with four guys. At some point in time, you're going to have to do that. I have now. Are the Ravens going to be in the playoffs? Yes. Will they make a Super Bowl run? I still believe so. I have huge concerns about what's going to happen at the end of this year and what that means for Lamar Jackson's career and all the questions that's going to be happening at the end of this year because the holes are there and it is obvious. And if the Detroit made it obvious with the questions that we had about them coming into the season, their teams is going to make it far more obvious. So I want to see it. I need to see it. We need to see it, guys. Okay. So that was week 3. So let's do some week 4 picks. All right. I saw about 5 games that I thought about that were going to be really good games. For week 4, the Thursday night games, Seahawks versus Cardinals. Is that in Arizona? It's in State Farm Stadium. Where the hell is State Farm Stadium? Oh, I'll tell you right now. State Farm Stadium is in Arizona. Okay, so this is in Arizona. I'm telling you right now, Arizona's not going to lose this game. Arizona's not going to lose this game. Arizona's Cardinals are going to win at home against Seattle. Coming off of a loss, they can't drop 2 straight. That's what that's going to be. Eagles Bucks. Um, it's in Tampa Bay. I expect the Eagles to go there and win too. The Eagles they're going to remain undefeated. Um, the Bucks had the Jets number for about like 3 quarters, and they still allowed them to come back. I'm still looking at the Bucks and seeing their success as more associated with them being in the NFC South than them being great. I'm looking at the Eagles to go into Tampa Bay, take care of business, remain undefeated. Now, going into the next game, Jaguars and 49ers is now a pretty big game. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm going to be rooting for the 49ers to win this game. And honestly, I'm going to pick the 49ers to win this game. At home in San Francisco, I'm like I said, the Jaguars, they should have a oh, their backup from last year is now that's who they're playing. This is every reason for them to win the game, and I still think they're gonna lose. So Colts in LA playing the Rams. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I think this is where our winning streak stops, and I think the Rams do win this game. Them coming off a comeback loss, um, in LA. I think this is if listen if the Colts win this game in LA, we're gonna have a different conversation about the Indianapolis Colts as a whole. But I think I think that I definitely feel like the Rams are gonna have this one. Chiefs, Ravens. Now they're both 1-2, right? Yup. So one of these teams, can you believe that? Either the Chiefs or the Ravens are going to be 1-3. That's crazy. Um, the NFL is so funny. The NFL is so funny. Um, sorry, I gotta think about that one. It's in Kansas City. I'm going with the Ravens on this one. I thought about it. I'm going with the Ravens on this one to go into Kansas City. I feel as though that Baltimore feels that they owe Kansas City one. I think they have a superior roster. I think the quarterback play is going to be pretty much um, on par. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think the Ravens are going to. I like the Ravens more than I like the Chiefs right now. And an interesting game, the Sunday night game, the Packers are going in Dallas um to play Green Bay in a revenge game for Micah Parsons. Now, Green Bay just lost an embarrassing game. That's not going to happen two weeks back to back. So, I of course I'm going with Green Bay there. Okay, guys, that's pretty much just going to wrap it up right there. That's pretty much going to wrap it up right there for the week. I probably could have changed this. However, we're here now. We're here now. Either way, um, thanks for tuning in, guys. I had a great time with you. Of course, get the full episodes on Spotify and YouTube, and get the reels on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. We are all over the place. With that said, guys, I love my time with y'all, but I got to tell you, cuz you don't know football. I'm your boy Reek. Like Martin said, I'ma see you when I see you. Peace.